So the next part of our program is the panel discussion. Panelists, please make your way to the stage as I call your name. Roberta Brehm, President of Vyron. Roberta has transformed Vyron since purchasing it in 2018, driving business and workforce growth. With a degree in mechanical engineering, Roberta is a mentor and advocate for women in the HVAC and construction industries. Our next panelist, Jessie Cannizzaro, founder and owner of Wauwatosa-based Milestone Plumbing. Started in 2011, Milestone has grown from a one-woman operation to a team of licensed plumbers, registered apprentices, pre-apprentices, and a dedicated administrative support staff. And next up is Tami Martin. Tami joined Froedtert Health as Director of Workforce Development in 2023. As a senior human resource leader, she is skilled at partnering with department heads to develop strategy, facilitate organizational change, and improve employee productivity. And we are delighted to welcome Becky back up to the stage to join the panel. And our panel moderator this morning is Portia Young, the Director of Corporate Public Relations for Plymouth-based Sargento, a family-owned company. We are especially grateful to Portia, as this is her second year moderating the panel. Please welcome our panelists. So now, Portia, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, panel. It is so good to see everyone here again, another year. I love that the BizTimes community and the BizTimes editor, Dan and Kate, that they put this on. I am a recovering journalist, so I understand the power of local journalism, and I'm just so glad that you guys are fighting the good fight and staying in the business, and I'm just so grateful to be here again with you this morning. This has been incredible. I'm taking pictures, I'm taking notes. Who else is doing that this morning? I mean, I am just so inspired. Becky and Deb, it's just amazing. And I do know Jefferson County. I used to be the Rock County news reporter in Channel 27 News, so I have friends in Milton, that's Rock County, but I drove through Jefferson all the time, so I'm just so elated. We are going to be here. These are four amazing women, if you can't tell already. We are going to have a great discussion, so I encourage you to, again, text your questions to that phone number so that we can maybe get them answered. But this is a really, I would say, a strange time. I don't think there's been any time in my life where I have felt, I don't know what's happening next, and I'm just going to have to roll with it. I mean, maybe when I had the babies, because that's a wake-up call that morning in the hospital when you're like, oh my God, what just happened exactly? But I think as women, we understand that because a lot of us are mothers, or we are caretakers, and we don't really know what the path is after today or an hour from now. So I'm just so thrilled to be able to hear from these wonderful women. And the theme is leading with uncertainty, or leading through this uncertainty. And so my first question is, okay, how can we lead through uncertainty? How do you make those decisions as a leader when you just don't really have that clear path forward? And I'll start with you, Roberta.
You know, I wish that there was a black and white, something that you could apply. This is the guidebook to how to make all decisions moving forward. Sadly, that's not the case. But I would say, I guess, my guiding principles that I do try to remember is, and they're hard to remember. One, I would say the decision doesn't have to be made right now. Most of the time, you feel this pressure and this urgency that, like, oh, we have to decide, we've got to do this, there's a lot happening. But typically, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it can at least wait until tomorrow. So take a breath, step away, sleep on it, and that tends to help. You gain some clarity. And then I lean on my peer groups, my friends, my family, my poor husband. I think I'm an outward processor, so that's maybe a personal thing for me too, as I've learned that as I speak and talk this through and hear different ideas and perspectives, I don't know, you take little nuggets and it helps you kind of create your own path forward. And don't forget that your team is actually, as leaders, I think we default to, I have to have the answer. You don't have to have the answer. In fact, you probably don't have the best answer. And I've learned that if I lean on my team, it not only gives me really great ideas, but it builds this bridge of this trust between each other. It lifts them up, and we work together for a solution. And then, at the end of the day, this is a tough one to remember, but for me personally, I feel that I try really hard to be in control of my life and everything in my life, and at the end of the day, I'm actually not the one in control. My personal belief is that God's in control, so at a certain point, you let it go, and that's what helps me sleep at night. Do what you can.
All right. Jessie, how do you make decision-making in this time where you just don't really have that clear roadmap or you can't really see the next step in front of you?
It's a great question, and 99% of the time, I have time to think about it. Last week in the plumbing world was an anomaly. It was a disaster. There's a lot of stories that go with that. But normally what I do is I just kind of sit back and I reflect. And I don't know if anybody in the room feels this, but some of the best thoughts come to me while I'm in the shower or I'm brushing my teeth. And I think it's because my children are not around. Nobody is distracting me. I am totally focused. And the other huge thing I utilize is the power of the subconscious. If you work on something else and put whatever it is that you're trying to decide or determine the next steps for kind of on the back burner, it's incredible what your subconscious can do and lead you to. Sometimes waking up the next morning, I will have a really great idea that I did not have the night before. I journal. I am a very busy person, so I have a very small journal. It's called the 5-minute journal, if anybody is looking for a way to journal. You write 3 things down in the morning, you write 3 things down at night. That has helped lead me to really, really great ideas and solutions for some really complex problems.
Wow. Tami.
First of all, I wanted to say that I have a water, a marker for my shower. So when those ideas come to me, I write them on the shower door.
Wow.
So how I make decisions, I think about when I was working for U.S. Bank, shout out to U.S. Bank, and they sent me to Arkansas. And I was on a 2-lane highway trying to make my flight that morning back to Little Rock, and it was really, really foggy. And you could not see right in front of you. So making decisions during uncertain times is like driving in the fog. So, I gathered as much information as I could. Again, the analogy, gathering, analyzing as much data as possible that you have available. Again, another thing I do is reach in my backpack of experience. So I had a lot of different experiences, and if I don't have an experience that's similar, I will go to a mentor. I have my advisory board of individuals that I go to. I make small incremental moves. I give myself permission to make mistakes and fail, and rebound quickly from those failures. And then also, I like to connect with people who, if you're familiar with Gallup Strengths, who are restorative, because they can foresee a lot of the challenges or problems, and so I like to collaborate with individuals like that.
Becky.
My honest answer to that is I try to reject perfection. And I say at work all the time, 70% and go. If I can see 70%, I'm moving. Because I think in times of uncertainty, it's easier not to make a decision. And I personally believe by not making a decision, you're making a decision. And so I try to say 70% right and go, because most decisions aren't permanent. Most decisions I make, I could a month from now say, well, that was a bad decision, let's course correct that. And you have to have humility to do that, because then it says I was wrong, but I'm comfortable being wrong. Because I think we're paid, in my case, to make big decisions, and if I wait until I have 100% confidence, I won't move fast enough. And so I reject this idea of perfectionism, 70% and move.
I hear you. I love the fog analogy. So as one of the things from being a recovering journalist, I have all these random facts in my head. And just to share with you, one of the deadliest weather conditions isn't snow, it's fog. It's because you're underestimating, you're trying to go too fast, and before you can make course correct, it's too late. So that is very telling. You said you slow down. You said you write things down, and if you're driving in that fog, that's what you have to do. You have to slow down. You have to really think about things and make decisions incrementally as you're driving through. So be safe, don't speed in fog, turn on your lights, and slow down. I love that. So Becky, we'll start and we'll go down this way because I do want to know, I think we've heard these come through, but what are the essential leadership qualities, especially during these uncertain times? Like the things we just have to have. And you gave us the 20%, but what else would you say?
I'd say curiosity is at the top of the list, so remaining curious, because sometimes in the fog, you think you know the way, because you've driven that way many times. I think staying curious about what's around you is probably essential. I would argue it's been essential, but it's essential now. And the second one I would add is learnability, the ability to learn something new, to see the same thing that you've seen before in a new way.
Okay, Tami.
Definitely had learning on my list, and then agility. So like, again, with a driving analogy, it's when maybe you see something in the road, a pothole, you're able to quickly make a decision, right, and move around it. And then also adaptability. So maybe now you have to reroute. The road is closed, you're rerouting.
Jessie, before you answer, we had a discussion. She talked about the plumbing and the flood, the horrific event that happened. I think your leadership quality shined through when you cut your family vacation short and you came home. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we do not take vacations often. Those of you in this room that know me well, it is like once a year if we're lucky. And we had planned a really fun Niagara Falls trip. We stayed on the Canada side. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old, and this was a really big deal for them to go on the airplane. We took a transport over the border, and this was just going to be a week of wonderful things with my family, which included my mom, who jokes she's the fifth wheel. She comes with us everywhere we go. And 15 hours into that trip, 2 Saturdays ago, I heard the fire alarm blaring. We were standing inside of the room, and it's 1:30 in the morning. I'm on the 28th floor of the Embassy Suites, if you've ever been to Niagara Falls. And I went and sat on my son's bed because I'm trying to figure out, as they're announcing that there's this fire alarm and there's stand by for further instructions, right? And your heart's racing because is there really a fire, or has somebody been drinking too much and pulled the alarm? And I looked on Facebook and I saw the pictures of the State Fair Park. And then I scrolled a little further and I saw more pictures, and I thought, these have to be AI generated. This cannot possibly be real. And I texted my sister, it was 12:30 back home, and I could tell through the text she was scared. Her studio, she has an art studio in Tosa, was flooding. The roads were not passable. She couldn't go home. And I realized in that moment that I needed to be back here. We have a team that was going to be very overwhelmed, and we were going to get dealt some pretty tough cards this past week. And so by 15 hours into a trip, I was on my way back over the border. But the pathway to get home, I texted the transport guy who I had just met the day before. His name is Mike, and he's a wonderful man. He has checked in multiple times since I left. And I said, Mike, I need to go home. There's an emergency. And Mike said, I will get a car there. Just go down to the lobby. Southwest got me on flights that day despite booked airlines, which, you know, they're not always perfect, but I appreciate what they did that day. And I went to bed with 2 hours of sleep and reported back to work at 5 a.m. on Monday. And our team took a beating last week. Not only physically doing what we could to get basements pumped out, but also emotionally as customers were crying, opening up about everything that they had lost. They had pets that were lost in the flooding, belongings that were lost, just awful, horrific things. And I will tell you, the hardest decision to make is waking up that Sunday morning, looking at those little boys, and when I said, Mom needs to go back, but you guys are going to continue on this trip. And they both cried, and I felt like I failed in that moment, but it also was a great lesson for those 2 boys to understand that sometimes your team, your community, and your business may need you to step up and do the right thing, and that vacation that was so important is completely irrelevant when so many people are hurting. So it was absolutely the right decision to come back. Not an easy thing to do, but I know my team was sad when I came home, but I could tell they also appreciated it. After we got through the first 3 days of getting things pumped out and starting to put people's lives back together, which a lot of those people are still in the phase of putting things back together, it was the moral support. It was the silly things I was doing. It was bringing water heaters into the basement to help our team out. I haven't lifted a water heater in like 5 years. I could tell you it is a really good ab workout, so I got that done for the week. And it was also doing the Starbucks runs just to say, hey, I appreciate everybody putting all these extra hours in so that we can be a bright spot in what has been a really dark time.
That's a real-time example. Uncertainty, it wasn't on anybody's radar, no pun intended. And, you know, again, the weather used to rule my life as a reporter, and I was struck by how none of the forecasters had that in there. And so it was a complete surprise, and I'm just, hats off to you and your team. I know Tosa's still recovering,
But in that moment,
Yes.
you don't overthink things.
Exactly.
You don't work on the subconscious. You just make decisions.
Right.
And you recognize that you can correct
Yeah.
if you need to, but sometimes just getting things going is the most important part.
And your boys will know that. Mommy has another family too.
They want to know when we're going back to Niagara Falls.
So Roberta, the essential leadership qualities for you, I know.
Yeah, I mean, how do I follow? That is incredible. That is just, that's
Yep.
inspiring. I guess I would just add on to what Becky's kind of already alluded to, but just being transparent and humble in the fact that you maybe don't have the answer. So you're going to do the best that you can. And I think when your team sees that you're just doing the best you can, that goes a long way. That's all they need from you.
To be vulnerable, to be open,
Yeah.
to tell them, I don't have the answer, but together maybe we can figure it out.
Yeah, and you're going to course correct. And so you just make the best decision you can at the time, and then you correct as you go.
And part of that course correction comes through feedback. And I'm going to go to Tami because feedback, everybody says, oh, just give feedback, constant feedback, that's the way to go. But what is good feedback? What does that look like? What is the constructive feedback that really moves the needle and has people feeling their worth?
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to work for some really great companies in Milwaukee. And those great companies have laid the foundation for their leaders to be able to know how to give feedback. So one of the important aspects, first of all, I think it's very important to give positive feedback as well. So let individuals know what they're doing right and well and what they should continue to keep doing. I think another important aspect is conveying your positive intent as to why you're giving them the feedback and really making sure that feedback is coming from a good place in the first place. I think also being specific, right? Because if I don't know exactly what you're telling me that I should be doing differently or what you appreciate, that clarity is really important when giving feedback. And then lastly is asking questions to the person, especially if you're in a leadership role and you're trying to get them to do something differently or change their behavior, and getting their buy-in and ideas of how they're going to make those changes. So just kudos to the companies because they've invested in their leaders and making sure that their leaders know how to give effective feedback.
Becky, what is good feedback? What does that look like?
Yeah, so again, to be additive, I would just say feedback shouldn't be an event. It should be ongoing. Like, it's a conversation, and I always say to people, if I'm not giving you feedback, you should be worried because it means I'm not invested enough in you to help you be better and to call out the things that you're great at. And so I would say that's the biggest thing is don't make it an event. And it is tough when somebody starts me, I'm going to give you some feedback. I'm like, oh, dear Lord, did you have to use the word feedback? Like, just say, hey, here's some things I saw you do well, and here's a couple things I think that you could have done better. And because somehow the word feedback is a little off-putting. So I just try to make it an ongoing thing and catch people in the moment. Like, we have this thing called mid-year reviews and year-end reviews. Just do it ongoing. Catch people doing something right and then help them constructively build themselves better.
We did get a couple questions from the text, so I'm going to go to those. All right, so Jessie, I'll send this one to you. When you're a 40-plus professional, how do you cope with imposter syndrome? I was so confident in my 20s when I had no right to be. You did. But now with 20 years under my belt, I'm less confident in my role and skills.
I think just being your authentic self every day and not feeling sorry or ashamed of who you are. You show up and, typically you'll see me with a ponytail on, a black polo, work boots, and in jeans. And it's who I am, and that's my brand, and that's what people know me as. And if you just show up and you're authentic in everything that you do, I don't think you have to worry about what other people think or how you may feel that you're being perceived. And it just comes down to being you and not worrying about others. I think social media is a huge problem. I have cut back extensively. I mean, there's some balance that we have to have, I think, as professionals with utilizing it. But look at yourself through your own lens. There was the mirror comment earlier, and be proud of who you are and don't worry about what anybody else thinks.
I think part of it, too, is also thinking about what other people have and what you perceive not to have. That can really play that doom loop in your head as well. So, as each of you became leaders, we'll move on to the next question. Roberta, how did you navigate learning how to delegate instead of trying to swoop in and be that fixer? Because that's the key to leader.
It is, and I actually think if you just practice it 1 or 2 times, you'll realize the incredible benefits from that. You are the bottleneck of your company, no matter what role you're in, if you're not leading on your team to help you succeed. The first couple times that you kind of test it out and you test those waters, okay, I'm gonna let go of this control, I'm gonna let this team member handle X, Y, or Z, you'll see the tremendous growth in them and how excited they get that you now trust in them, and they feel that from you. So you're believing in them, you're empowering them, and then the growth that comes from that. And if you hang on to everything, inevitably you're stopping your company from growth in a significant way, even if you're maybe just a leader of what you think is a small portion of the company. It's holding back the growth of the company.
Wow, I like that phrasing. Can you expound on that, Becky? I see you nodding.
Yeah, it resonates with me, obviously. The research says that the single biggest leap that we make as young professionals is from managing ourselves to managing others. Single biggest leap. It's when a lot of women, by the way, it happens about a certain age, a lot of women opt out of full-time employment at that time as well. Is it related? I don't know, but it is factual. And so for me, and I have a bit of a contrarian view on this, absolutely, once you have people working for you, your job is not just your development, it's to develop them. So you have to give up some responsibility, but I also believe in working leaders. I believe in staying close to the business and making sure you know what's going on. That doesn't mean you're directing it. It means you're informed. You're informed enough to coach and develop. And so this idea that you become a leader and therefore you don't know how the business runs, I don't believe in that. I believe in working leaders.
Okay. Jessie?
We have grown over the last 14 years from one woman who worked out of her home to now a great team of 20. And I still struggle with this and have all along the way. The way that I deal with it is I leave the office because I will suddenly feel I need to interject myself because we're not doing it the way that I want it done, or there's a better way, or we could do it faster. And so when I feel that starting to happen after I've delegated something, I leave the building. I will go find something else to do. There's got to be a job site that needs me to come peek and see how things are going, because sometimes they have to struggle to figure it out and learn it from the next time. And if I interject myself, that tells them that I don't trust them, and it also tells them that next time I'll do it for them. And so I leave the building to make sure I don't take it back over.
I just want to add on to that. I do something similar. I'll purposefully not think about something, and I'll say, I'm not going to think about this because you're going to think about it. And if I start thinking about it, then I'll want to do it. And so I will literally say, I'm not thinking about this. It is yours. And then I force myself not to think about it.
Mm-hmm. And Tami?
For me, it's out of necessity and just learning that I just can't do everything. So I am an entrepreneur. I work a full-time job, and I teach at UWM as an adjunct professor. I just have to delegate stuff, right? I can't get all of that done. And I've tried. It doesn't work.
No, there's only one you, and you only have two hands.
So you learn. The other way is I've worked for BMO as well. And at BMO, I worked in learning and development. And so I was actually teaching other leaders how to delegate. And when you teach others, you learn, and you have to do as well. So that was extremely helpful for me to get those building blocks for delegation.
Okay, I'm going to stick with you, Tami, because we're in the HR space. It is essential for leaders. I think we're all in agreement. Leaders today have to have empathy, and women, we have that in spades. Empathy, how does it match with accountability? So sometimes we say empathy, but then you think, oh, pushover, but that's not the case. How do you do both? Hold people accountable, but still empathize with them and put yourself in their shoes to help make better decisions?
Yeah, that's a great question. As a new leader, I remember struggling with that. I remember at the time where I had no children and I had team members who were like single moms, and I was very black and white. And I didn't show a lot of empathy, and I have regret about that, especially after I became a mom. And I had empathetic leaders that I learned how to model. And part of that is making sure that there's goals set, there's expectations, and that there's clarity. And along with that, there's empathy. So I think those are some of the key points. And you have to know each team member as a person and actually know some of what they're going through so that you can be flexible and make those adjustments.
Jessie.
I absolutely agree with all of that, and being flexible is huge. I think back to the experiences that each of us have gone through, and I think it helps to shape when things happen, and it's going to be unexpected things. I'll share that a couple months ago, we had one of our plumbers, and his wife had a miscarriage, and it was devastating for him, and he needed some time away to be there for her. I personally could relate to that. My husband and I went through that, and I was able to talk to him in a way because of the experience that made us more connected, give him that time that he needed, where he said to me, and his wife gave me the biggest hug when I saw her, if he had been working for the other employer, which obviously is a male, it's not going to be another female plumber, they would have never understood and given their family that space to heal and how much that meant to them. And I think it's connecting with people on those experiences. Expectations are super important, right? When he was done healing in those couple of days, he was back working just as hard as ever before, but he needed that time. And we need to be sympathetic and empathetic towards understanding that with people.
Roberta?
And now you've gained a total another level of trust and respect just by doing that. So that's huge. Yeah, I feel that keeping your team accountable, as long as it comes from a place of genuine, I care for you as a person, and I see what you can do, and this is the bar I've got for you because I know you can get there, and I believe in you, then no matter how, and obviously with that you understand there's circumstances, but you see what they can accomplish. That just in itself, holding them accountable to that bar is being empathetic. It's you helping them grow. And so I think those are hand in hand, marriaged.
And Becky.
Yeah, I'm with Roberta. I think empathy and accountability reinforce each other. So I think the question was phrased like, how do you balance the two? I would say having empathy gives you the right and permission and the acceptance to hold people accountable. I think which is why I'm so excited that you said we naturally have some of those skills. It makes us better leaders.
So they're not competing forces.
I think they're reinforcing. I think historically we've thought of them as competing. Empathy doesn't mean you're soft. It just means you listen. And you listen to help people navigate to their accountability. So I think they reinforce.
Wonderful. Okay, we're getting a couple questions in. Okay, so I'll go to the small business owners. For someone wanting to start their own business in the Milwaukee area, what's the number one thing they should know or do starting out to avoid common major setbacks? Roberta? I know, this one. We can come back. What do you? Yeah, okay. Jessie?
Don't give up. And I look back to, and I've had so many great mentors, and early on in the beginning, wrote a business plan. I went to school at UWM, a bachelor's and a master's, but I still felt like I needed a little bit of extra help. Learning is important, never stop learning. And there was an entrepreneur training program that UWM offered. And I remember my husband being like, you have an MBA, why would you go and take this entrepreneur class? Because I don't think you can ever learn everything that you possibly need to know. And what did the entrepreneur training course do? It also disciplined me to put together the plan, right? Every week we had a section of the plan that was due. Yes, I could have put something together on my own, but it would have never been as comprehensive as what we put together. And after having that and going out there to go look for funding, that was a big, huge blow. Every bank looked at us. This was right after 2008 had happened, as a high-risk business. So it was decline after decline after decline. And it was, ironically, U.S. Bank, Michael Ward, who said to me, we cannot fund this, but I know someone who can. And Mike took the time to make the introduction to WIBIC. If I had given up after the first two banks, I had given up after those first two banks said no, we wouldn't have the team that we have today. We wouldn't have created something different inside of the plumbing industry. And so it's do not give up, but make sure you put together a good plan. And you want to make sure you have the funding. If you're already scraping by and you're going to launch a small business, you want to have a line of credit. You want to have the funds. You want to have the financing. Do not try, because you will put yourself personally also in a world of hurt without that financial backing.
Roberta?
Yeah, I can add to that. To go off of that, I'd say create your network of it's bankers and things along like the business resources, but it's also like your peer groups. Get involved in some peer groups. Go to events like this. Create relationships with people, because you're going to come across a lot of things that you don't know how to handle and questions as you're learning and growing. And the best way that I've grown is just through one-on-one conversations with people I admire and respect. And specifically, it's really fun to have people that are like you, women, who are dealing with a lot of the same kinds of things you are. So build that network and lean on it.
I just wanted to say that ChatGPT told me that 33% of entrepreneurs who actually work like another job while they're launching their business are more successful.
Okay, all right. So we're going to pivot to something else, but I just want to just, in general, show of hands, do you believe that this is just the age of uncertainty right now, and this is our normal? Yes or no? Agree? Yeah. Okay. And so with that, when we don't know what that next step is going to be, when we can't clearly see it, how do we set boundaries when the perimeter is not even defined? I'll go with Becky.
I guess I'm going to take that one. I'm actually decent at this, but I'm decent at it because I had some personal loss. I lost my husband to colon cancer 4 years ago, and when that happened, I realized, and I mean, you know, but I realized that every single breath you take is precious. Every breath you take is precious, and therefore, where I choose to spend my time and energy is a choice. It's a choice. And so for me, there are two things that I require. I need sleep, people. So she was sharing she didn't sleep so well last night. I'm telling you, I need sleep. I'm a 7-hour sleeper. Don't mess with me. I've got this sleep number bed that's changed my life. We can talk about that separately should you want to. It's like a rocket ship, but it's amazing. I haven't checked my score this morning because sometimes it gets in my head if it's not as good as I thought it would be. But to me, I need sleep. And I need some kind of physical exercise. Yes, I do love to run. I did run as grief therapy, and so that's why I ran so many marathons. You're wondering, why in the world did she do that with her job? I did it to survive, and so it was a companion for me, but it also helped me learn. And you talked about reflecting. I think when I run, like I process through the day, and I think about, okay, what are my transitions going to be in this conversation I need to have? And so to me, those are I keep clear on what I need to do for myself to show up the best that I can at the office. And I'm unapologetic about it. I mean, if I don't get my morning workout, I'm leaving the office to go work out after work at whatever time I can wrap things up and get out of there at a decent time. I'm unapologetic about it.
Mm-hmm. What did you learn about leadership through the loss of your husband?
Okay, I wasn't quite ready for that, Portia. again, about leadership, I learned, I mean, it's more personal for me. I mean, I'm raising 3 young women who lost their dad, and helping them. It's resilience in a whole different way, friends. Like, it's not what's supposed to happen. I lost my mom recently, and it was beautiful because she was 90 years old, and you're like, that's how it's supposed to go. Like, I got to see that last breath. It wasn't a struggle, but that's not the experience that we had. And so I learned, one, that everyone's watching you. Everyone watches when they know what's happening. They want to see, you know, are you okay? Are you not okay? And the last thing I wanted to be asked is, are you okay? My girls were watching. What happens to mom? Thank goodness you work. We'd be destitute. But if I'm honest with you, I also saw fear, and I still see fear in them. They live with this different uncertainty that I didn't grow up with, and they didn't grow up with either, but they live with that. And so when I said my girls call a lot, they call to check in. They don't say that, but they're calling to make sure mom's okay. Mm-hmm. And so from a leadership perspective, I learned I need to be accessible. And not just for my girls in this example, but to my team. And I share that not because it's something that is comfortable to share. My hands are sweating now. I share it because it is, in my belief, the exact road I was supposed to walk. I am on the exact road I'm supposed to walk. If I don't share that, then some of you who are dealing with devastating loss of different kinds, you may not know that one day, not too many years in the future, you can sit where I'm sitting and look back on the road and say, okay, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But it did, back to Alyssa saying ambition, it caused me to reaffirm my ambition of what I wanted to do. Because when you realize how precious life is, and you realize that this is a choice, you being here today was a choice. You all woke up this morning and chose to be here. When you know the preciousness of time, where you choose to invest your energy is a choice. And if I leave nothing with you, I leave that with you. That choose, you know, Taylor Swift, because she's, you know, more famous, obviously, than I am. She said, your energy is a luxury, and not everyone's earned it. She said that like yesterday. I see Meredith nodding. The rest of us are like, I didn't know she said that. Clearly a Swiftie. But I thought that was so true. Your energy is a luxury, and not everyone's earned it. And that is something I carry with me. And so I work because I choose to. I work for ManpowerGroup because I believe in what we do. I believe in the power of work to help you through, yes, your bills and your dinner table conversation, but to help you through life. And that's why I do what I do.
Thank you for sharing. That's the ultimate uncertainty, and I did want to open with that time is the most precious thing we have, because you can't make it, and once it's gone, it's gone. It is more valuable than money. So I personally just thank you all for choosing to spend your time here with us this morning and hearing from these wonderful women. So thank you, Becky. Yes, we have a shared connection. My mom is a colon cancer survivor, so just blessings to you and your family. I know it's still a struggle. All right, I'm going to just switch gears. We got to kind of change the vibe a little bit before I start crying. Okay. This is going to be just some rapid fire questions, okay? Just to kind of, before we go into our final topics of discussions. Okay, I'm just going to start, we're just going to go down the line. I'm going to start with you, Roberta. Okay, what is your favorite thing, place, or activity that is quintessentially Wisconsin? Don't think too hard.
Yeah. Chasers with your Bloody Marys.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't know why they do it any other way.
All right, Jessie?
The Lake Geneva Shoreline Path. We will do our 4th trip around it next week, Saturday, for my husband's 50th birthday. If you haven't done it, go and take the day to go explore.
Okay, Tami?
I would say our lakefront, Lake Michigan. Love it.
Becky, now I know you're Texas.
Yeah, no, but I'm writing these Chasers. I'm going to check out. I'm writing these things down.
Everyone else is doing it wrong.
Mine is new. I went to the Wisconsin State Fair this year and got a cream puff.
Okay.
Really good. The fact that they don't have to be refrigerated is suspicious, but I'm letting that go.
Yes. I guess, okay, I'll add this. Mine is just the Green Bay Packers. It is just an experience. I know you probably like those Cowboys, but I'm sorry, we're America's team. We're America's.
At least I'm not a Lions fan or a, Bears.
We're America's team. Okay, all right. So
I don't agree with that, for the record.
When you get stuck creatively? I'm gonna start with Tami. When you get stuck creatively, what do you do?
So I'm not really creative. I am a remixer.
You have a water marker. I think you're creative.
So what I do is I usually like look for things so that I can like change them or transform them into something new, but I can't like start from scratch.
Okay. Jessie, what do you do when you get stuck creatively?
There's a place in Menominee Falls called a Better Me Spa. And if you float for 1 hour, it is incredible. And it will relax you, and you will dream and kind of fade in and out of sleeping. And it's supposed to be equivalent to 8 hours. I don't know that I would say it's a full 8, but it definitely is a really good nap. And I leave there much more grounded and have usually come up with a really good idea. So treat yourself to try floating.
Okay. Roberta, what do you do when you're stuck?
I talk things out, and a lot of the time it ends up being with my husband, the poor guy. We talk about work quite a bit and creative things and what should we do next, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay, Becky, what do you do when you're stuck creatively?
Yeah, I like to think with other people. And so something that you said, Jessie, like I didn't make this up, but it's a great saying. It's be a learn-it-all versus a know-it-all. Like, I want to be a learn-it-all versus a know-it-all. And so I recognize, like, Roberta, you talked about it. I think this idea of executives knowing everything, that's so done, because all these young people know so much more than we do. And so we have to be like a chief question officer. And so I love sitting around and going into people and back to feedback. I love to pop in and say, will you think with me about this? Because that does a couple things. One, it tells them I don't know, and guess what? I don't know. But two, we're human. We like to be complimented on, I want to get into your brain. I need help thinking about something. And so I'll go in and say, I need help thinking about this. And I just pop in.
Okay. All right, last rapid fire question. What movie do you rewatch the most? Roberta.
So I have a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old.
Frozen?
Really wish there was movies in time for that, but I guess I would have to say like Christmas time. I love Elf. Elf is a good one. Makes me laugh every time.
Okay, Jessie.
And mine are kind of shocking. We don't watch much TV, and yes, if we do, it's usually Disney. Anything Nicholas Sparks has made into a movie will stop me in my tracks, and I will stand and watch for a few minutes. And my friend who's in the audience will say I am not a romance at all person. Like, you will see my husband and I, we don't touch each other in public. But those movies, The Notebook and Message in a Bottle, there's just something special about that connection.
Tami.
Hands down, Hidden Figures.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going old school because I wasn't prepared for this question either, so it becomes the truth. Wuthering Heights. I'm a romance person. I'm the opposite. I'm on all that romance with the sideburns and the whole thing.
Okay. So it's not a movie that I've recently have rewatched, but the movie I have probably seen the most in my entire life is Grease 2. Not 1, but 2. Just don't ask. It was a thing. My sister and I, Grease 2. Michelle Pfeiffer, you gotta love it. Okay. All right, we're gonna go back to AI now that we kind of changed the vibe a bit. I loved the presentation that AI has the cape, but we are the heroes. So I just wanted to start with Roberta, since we did hear Becky's thoughts on this, but what skills, again, are more important now in this age of AI than ever before?
I think that's tough to predict, but I guess I would say right now is critical thinking. You want someone who can take the information they're getting, like you said, it's not replacing your job. It's emphasizing it. It's making it better. But be able to take that and still be able to put together a strategic plan and be critical about the data that you're reviewing and what decisions can you really make from that.
Okay. Jessie?
Mechanical aptitude. YouTube is great, but the number of homeowners that get themselves in trouble watching YouTube to do a plumbing repair is quite astonishing. There should be an entire TV series on this. And you try to go in with a straight face and ask questions without making them feel like they did something terribly wrong. But there are the skilled trades and having the mechanical aptitude to fix things. AI is great, but it's not going to replace that. And we have HVAC, and we have carpentry and electrical. And plumbing is bad, right? Because water can sometimes be dirty, but you want to really mess around, electrical will zap you. And I am been in plumbing for over 20 years. I'm still terrified of getting shocked. I've been shocked too many times in my career. So having the mechanical aptitude and the knowledge to know what to touch and what not to touch is something AI is not going to change.
Have you been to my home? I would say that the emotional intelligence, so speaking on social awareness, right? AI can't do that. It can't adjust based on like reading the room or other people's emotions, as well as self-awareness is pretty important too. So, for example, when I did take the strengths, my empathy was like number 34. So I need to know that. I need to adjust for that. And, knowing that helps me to make sure that I'm focused on that when I have those conversations.
And I'll just add the skilled trades, to use that terminology. It is huge demand, and we don't have enough people in that space. As the baby boomers retire, we have this new workforce coming up with even in high school having higher level of education than some of the boomers and not interested in the skilled trades. And it is not going to be impacted by AI in any sort of high percentage. We need more people working the skilled trades. And for all of you who are parents, it starts with you and school counselors to encourage people to go into the skilled trades. And there's great money. It's not true that it's not good money. There's good money in the skilled trades.
I have to comment on that because healthcare as well is extremely important. We all use it, and there is definitely a deficit of individuals, and we need more healthcare, competent healthcare individuals as well. And then remember too, healthcare have facilities, so the skills trades are also in healthcare.
This will be the last question, and it did come from the audience, so thank you. And this is for Becky. Which AI courses or certifications would you recommend? And I think this is a very practical one.
Yeah, so there are a tremendous amount online. I wouldn't say a specific one, but literally one if you're not using ChatGPT. Now, realize it's all your personal stuff out there. So if you're asking it personal stuff, you're putting that into the world. But it is such a great companion. So that's what I would start using. I don't know if it's a course. I would just start using ChatGPT. I use it to say, okay, I'm having dinner with my girls. What are 5 questions you ask 20-something-year-old university students? No, really. And then halfway through, they're like, Mom, did you ChatGPT this? Sure did, ChatGPT it. But you can go online and learn anything around the basics. One I would absolutely do are find a course around the differences in AI, because it's not all AI. And the new thing is agentic AI. And agents are actually these little autonomous things that can reason and make decisions in a framework. And so that's the hottest thing. But stay up to date on the differences in AI. That would be what I would recommend.
Okay, and the final questions. What is your unfair advantage as we navigate this world of uncertainty? Roberta. Yep, your personal unfair advantage that you have. Oh, your exceptional advantage. Sorry, your exceptional advantage. Yes.
It's hard because it's making you try to brag about yourself. We're
Well,
not
go
good at that.
ahead.
Yeah, right? I would say my humility to work with my team, I guess, is what I feel like I beat my competitors at. I use my team for everything and admit that I don't have the answer. And I had a professor in college in one of my engineering courses say, and this was to a room of like 250 engineers, mechanical engineers, who all think that they are the smartest people. And he said, the smartest person in this room is not the one that has all the answers. It's the one that knows how to find all the answers. So you've heard me speak a lot about my network and my friends and my husband and my team. That's what makes me look good. It's amazing. It's pretty cool.
Exceptional advantage, Jessie?
I would say the grit to overcome the obstacles. A lot of people know my dad was a plumber. Chose the same path. A lot of times the misconception is that I took over his business, which is not true. We actually fought a lot, and I chose to leave and go to another company before starting the business. And there was a lot of self-doubt along the way. My dad is 82. I love him. He is Italian, technically Sicilian, which is a whole nother level of crazy. And he told me I would never make it in this industry. And I know that now he's very proud of what I've done, and I know that the words came from a place of fear of seeing me not succeed. But that has motivated me every single day to overcome those obstacles. And it's something that I think you just learn to push yourself harder and harder. And trying to balance that can become a challenge, and that's something that I work on every day.
Exceptional advantage, Tami?
Pastoria Perry, my mother, she gave me a foundation of values, that I will never leave. And, just to see her and the grit, and it is the foundation of everything that I do. And just having that also spiritual, she taught me to have a spiritual foundation.
Becky.
Yeah, we call this leadership superpower. It's a fun question. Mine is authenticity. I am who I am. If my 90-year-old mother was sitting here, I'd say the same things to her. If my girls were here, I'd say the same things. Or if you all are here, or if my board of directors are here. I can only be me. I always hope it's enough, but I can only be me.
All right. Well, thank you. Round of applause for our wonderful panel.